Hi, I'm Linda. Welcome to my kitchen. Some of you might know me as the Honest Grazer. I have been following a plant-based flexitarian lifestyle for maybe 3 years now, and I can honestly say I haven't been healthier or happier in my life. One of the great things about being at home right now is that we get to make really awesome home-cooked meals, and it doesn't have to be complicated or take a lot of time. So today I'm going to take you through a super simple recipe that needs minimal ingredients and is very easy to make and will keep you nourished and feeling healthy through the next few weeks. Okay, so I'm quickly going to take you through all of the ingredients that you're going to need for today's recipe. So I have a big bowl of broccoli and cauliflower. I'm using fresh broccoli and cauliflower, but you can use frozen as well. I then also have some beautiful leeks. You can replace the leeks with red or white onion if that's all that you have available to you. We'll then also be using fresh garlic. Everyone should have garlic in their household just because it is a super immune booster and it makes almost any meal taste a little bit more delicious. We also have some fresh herbs. I'm using rockets, but you can use any herb, basil, sage, coriander. They'll all work beautifully in this recipe. We have 1 can of butter beans. Once again, you can use any bean, although a white bean is better. Chickpeas or lentils will be super in this recipe. We have some dried vegetable stock. I will be diluting this with some water. And we have some seasonings. We also have seeds, which I will be toasting in a pan just now. And then lastly, I do want to add a bit of creaminess and some delicious healthy fats to the recipe. So I'm going to be using the vegan Flora margarine, which is super loaded with those plant-based oils, which are so good for us. So I also have some hand sanitizer, but I'm just going to be washing my hands. And just make sure that we are being super hygienic, make sure all of our surfaces are clean, and that we are washing our hands for a long period of time. So I'm just washing it like that now. Let's get cooking. So we're going to break or chop our veggies. So you can either just break them into little bits like this, or you can chop them. I like to just chop this heart out so that we don't really want that, although you can put it in the soup because everything's going to be blended anyway. So you can just cut them into little florets. Just so that they're a little bit easier to rinse and cook. So I'm going to transfer them here. You just do that with all of your broccoli and cauliflower. Same thing with the cauliflower. You can either break them. It's just a little bit harder. So you can break the cauliflower, or you can just go in there and cut out that heart like that. Just put that to the side, and then you can cut out these little florets. Okay. And just roughly, we don't have to impress anyone, just ourselves. So we're just gonna put them in our little colander to rinse just now as well. So we're just gonna carry on doing that with all of our broccoli and cauliflower. Cool, so we are almost done. We have a massive colander of fresh veggies. Probably won't be able to rinse all of them at once, but we will do it in stages. So we're just gonna make sure that our veggies are very, very well rinsed. Cool, so now we do have some fresh, clean veggies, which we are going to pop into a pot of boiling water. We're going to need to bring a big pot of water to the boil. So I'm just going to get that ready. So if you have a big pot, or you can do it in 2 smaller pots, whatever works for you and what you have available. While we wait for the water to boil, I'm going to cut the garlic and the leeks because we'll be sauteing them in the pan. So I'm going to use 2 garlic cloves. Well, the recipe calls for 2, but I'm actually going to use 3 just because I love garlic. And then we also have our leeks. So for me, when I cut garlic, oh boy, that little bit's just not leaving me alone. Okay, so when I cut garlic, I usually just smash it with my knife, like that. And then you can peel off the outside, or you can just peel your garlic like a normal person and cut it however you want to. So I'm just going to do that with each garlic clove. Just take off those peels. Probably is easier to just peel them beforehand, but I find it comes off quite easily. And then we can just remove those little ends of the garlic as well. Okay, and then you can just be really rustic with how you cut this, guys. Like, it's a soup. You're gonna blend everything at the end anyway, so you really don't have to cut this beautifully, but just try and cut it very, very rustically, guys. Very rustic. So now we're going to cut our leeks. Make sure your leeks are nice and washed before cutting them. Okay, so I'm just going to cut off the ends. I'm just discarding the little ends. Once again, you can just cut these into little rounds like this. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just cut them however you like until they are. Oh, see? Messy cook. You have to be a messy cook. If you're not a messy cook, the food doesn't taste as good. We've got our leeks and our garlic. And now we're going to saute that in a pan. So our water is also boiled now, so I'm going to be adding our broccoli and cauliflower just for 5 minutes to the boiling water. So just pop them in there. We're just blanching the broccoli and the cauliflower for 5 minutes, and while we do that, we're going to cook the leeks and the garlic. Bring a pan to medium heat, and then we are going to use some Flora. Cool, so we're going to use about 2 tablespoons of Flora because we want it to be super rich and creamy. So just like that. So we're just going to melt that delicious Flora. Looks so good. So you can just put, you can just put it all in your pan. You can just keep stirring it through. You can just break it up a little bit. I see I didn't cut the leeks too well, but you can just break it up with your spatula. You can smell all of that garlic cooking. Okay, so our broccoli and our cauliflower has been blanching for about 5 minutes now. So I'm just going to drain them in some ice cold water. So the reason why we're using ice water is just to stop the cooking process completely. Because we don't want to overcook the broccoli and the cauliflower because they're going to go to the pan just now as well. So I'm just going to drain them. It's fine if a few get lost. Just going to drain them. Okay. So I'm just going to pop them all in there. Just stop that. Now they're nice and cold. So we're going to bring this back over to the stove and we're going to add it into our pan. Okay, so the leeks and garlic is nice and brown. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to just switch around these pots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the cooked garlic and leeks to my pot of veggies because to transfer them into my pan is going to be a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to do it the other way around. Okay, so we're just going to stir this through as well as you can, just until everything's nice and coated, and then we're just going to let these veggies cook in this pot for a little bit. So you can actually add a little bit more Flora if you want to. That's what I'm going to do, just because I want the soup to be really nice and rich and creamy. So I'm just going to add another tablespoon or so. So nice. Okay, and then you can just stir the Flora through again. So just make sure your veggies are nice and coated, and then we can just leave that now to simmer and saute a little bit. So we are going to quickly make our stock. It's super easy. All you have to do is use your dried stock and some boiling water. So I've got 4 teaspoons of dried stock. You can use whatever vegetable stock that you like. So I'm just going to put this in a jug, and then it's 1 cup to 1 teaspoon of stock. So I'm going to add 4 cups of hot water. Okay, like that. And then you can just stir it through. I like to use a stock that's got like little bits of vegetables and stuff in it, but you can use anything. Okay, that's perfect, just like that. So now we're going to add the stock to our vegetables that are cooking. Make sure all your veggies are nicely coated. So we're just going to turn up the heat. I'm going to let that cook for another 5 minutes. We're going to toast our seeds while we wait for our veggies to cook. So I'm just going to use what was left over in this pan from the garlic and the leeks, and I'm just going to pour in our seeds. So you can just use as many as you want. We're just going to stir that through, and we're just going to let our seeds toast. So you're just going to leave them actually on the pan, and you'll hear a little popping sound as soon as they're ready. Okay. I don't want the veggies to overcook, so I'm going to add in the butter beans, and then that's the last step. I'm going to leave them in for another 2 minutes or maybe 5 minutes or so, and then we are going to blend our soup. So we're going to add our butter beans to the veggies now, and you really have to add them at the end, because if you're using canned beans, you don't want them to be too mushy. But I see that my veggies still need a little bit of time, so we're going to leave them in there for another 5 minutes or so. I'm actually a little bit peckish, so I'm probably just gonna steal just a little bit of bread, you know, just to curb the hunger while I wait for this delicious soup. And obviously I'm going to put some Flora on it. This is like the best thing in the whole world, right? It's just a piece of bread with some delicious margarine. Just going to toast those seeds. Hear them popping. So we are going to blend our soup now. You can use a hand blender or a standing blender like I have, or a food processor, anything that's going to make your soup nice and smooth. I'm lucky because my blender is heat resistant. I'm actually just going to bring it here because taking it over there seems like quite difficult. So what I do is I'm going to drain the liquids off first. Like that. And then I'm going to add in the veggies with a spoon. This is just a little bit easier to manage. And then you can also control how chunky you want your soup. So you can do half of your veggies, blend them, and then do the other half a little bit less smooth if you don't want such a creamy soup, although I love smooth soup. So I'm just going to do that. This is a lot of soup as well. This is going to hold me for the whole week. Okay. Also just be careful that your soup isn't too hot. If you put this in a food processor or something that isn't heat resistant, it can end up in a mess. So just make sure that your soup is at a heat that is blendable. So I'm going to stop it there and I'm going to bring it back and add the rest of my veggies. So I'm going to pour this back into our pot. I'm just putting this in the sink. And then you can just have it in the pot, or you can to reheat, although it's quite warm still, or you can now decant it into Tupperwares or whatever you want to do, but just make sure that it is 100% cold before putting it into the fridge. But we are going to have this for dinner, so I want it to be nice and warm still. So this is going to go back onto the stove on a really low heat until we eat it. Okay, it's almost time to eat. I am absolutely starving and it just smells so delicious, so I want to get tucked in there. But I cannot do soup without bread. I just need to have something crunchy to dip into that smooth goodness. So I'm going to take some bread and toast it in a pan. So I'm going to let's take 2 slices. And I'm going to do that with some Flora. So I'm going to add some Flora into a hot pan. Okay, so we've got a nice hot pan. Ooh. I don't know if you can hear that sizzling. Probably not, but Okay, so we're just gonna coat our pan. And then we are going to put our slices of bread in there. This is how you do toast. You don't need a toaster. You just need a hot pan. Just gonna flip the toast. Oh, so golden brown and delicious. Okay, that's perfect. I don't know about you, but let's dish. Perfect bowl of soup. I'm just doing, okay, so 2 big bowls of soup. So I'm just going to make them look a little bit nicer. So I'm going to add a little bit of coconut cream. I always like adding coconut cream to my soup. Okay, and then we're going to add a few of our sprinkles, our nuts and seeds. So good for us right now, all of these healthy plant fats. And then we have our fresh herbs, so we can just put that on top as much as you want to, just like that. A little bit of salt and pepper, because we haven't put any in. So I like adding my salt and pepper right at the end, just because that way we don't over season. And that's it. And obviously we've got our bread, which we can just pop in there. Nice. Let's do a little taste test. Let's get in here. It's so rich and creamy and delicious, and the toasted seeds just add a little bit of crunch. I think for me, the real one over here is this piece of toast. All that buttery Flora goodness. Honestly, so delicious. Guys, it was so great cooking for you today, but I'm not gonna lie, I am more than ready to get tucked into this bowl of soup. So I hope you guys enjoy it too. Stay home, stay safe.